Hello, everyone. We're bringing you back to Crashout. It's going to actually be a series where my half-baked opinions, or my ones that aren't as objective or as solid, I still like to discuss. I don't know if this was an exclusively uh, Bay Area thing, but people were so deliberately particular about culture, right? It's like, oh, you, oh, you don't know about this, or you look like this. You do this? Oh, I know you're this ethnicity. I expect you to do this. And, stereotyping is very normal. I actually don't have a problem with it as much as it is demeaning if you hold someone to a stereotype if they don't actively follow it. It's completely normal to make assumptions and to make judgments of people because people like when you get it right. So you have to be really good at judging people. It's a skill to be able to identify and respect people's culture, and when people represent a certain brand or identity and being able to actually follow that and follow up on it, it's a valuable skill. And I don't feel like people see it that way. A lot of people see identifying individuals' culture as an opportunity to get offended and to also look down on people, right? To get mad or get angry over something in which someone probably just made an earnest mistake. Like, if you go to an Asian restaurant and you see a bunch of Asian people working there and you see Asian people eating there, like, you would just assume that it was an Asian thing. And that's a normal conclusion to make, right? Humans love classifying things. We love putting a label on something. It makes us belong, right? Getting that sense of belonging, getting that feeling that you're a part of something. And those groups and those circles is what builds and creates culture. But at the same time, I don't really feel like people should be shaming other people for lacking a culture or a part of their identity, which just, if they don't have it, they probably just didn't have it, right? They didn't have access to it growing up. I go to Great Clips to get my haircut, and every time I go, there's always these two Asian ladies working there, and I enjoy talking to them. But one of the big things that like stuck out to me when I would actually talk to them and have conversations is they would always ask me like, "Do you speak Mandarin?" Like, I am a Chinese man, and I said no because I grew up in China. I was born in China, third generation immigrant, I think. Right, like my grandparents came here and they had my mom and dad in America, and then now I'm here. So yeah, that would make me third generation, and I'm very detached from China. Like, they came here so I wouldn't have to be, quote unquote Chinese. Like, we had a small farm in South China. Like, we just weren't very rich, and this place gave us a lot more, excuse me, opportunity, and that was kind of the whole point. So yeah, it's kind of sad that I lose some of the aspects of being quote unquote Chinese and living in that environment, but I also am not poor. I don't have to farm or do manual labor. I get to study and learn stuff that my grandparents never had the opportunity to, and I also didn't grow up getting beat, like, really, or feeling the societal pressures of like being the only man in the sibling line, So those are things that I benefited from. Like, I don't feel like I have to be Chinese or I should be Chinese. I still like the food. I still engage in parts of the culture. Like, we're still very celebratory of Chinese New Year, or sorry, Lunar New Year, and I know a little bit of the language, and I like red and gold as lucky colors. We don't do firecrackers, but we do clean up for Lunar New Year, and you have to shower after a certain amount of time, right? You get the haircut, and those are still pieces of my culture that I respect, and that's a superstition. And there's this other sense of gatekeeping where you have this sense of identity and it's inherently attached to your immutable qualities, like your ethnicity, and people feel like you need to gatekeep that. That no, if you are not Chinese, you should not be able to have Chinese superstition. You shouldn't be able to engage in Chinese culture, and I don't think that has to be the case. There's a very real case for this, for like a president in the United States, for example, like a ruler or a monarch, and maybe some hierarchical figures, like for tribes, for example, in which ethnicity makes more sense because you not only have the history to back up, but you also have the the lineage. So you should be able to accurately represent whatever you're trying to represent by having that lived experience and understanding the struggles and the trade-offs of a people or a population. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. But in America, where people are so separated from your founding cultures because you're in America, and people want to stand out by having ethnic ties or having that sense of belonging with other people who also are part of your ethnic group, I feel like we're trying to be something that we're not. Like, I don't know if this is a crazy thing, but people develop culture. Like my a soccer team that I played on was a culture, like the American schooling and making fun of, NA education and going to high school in America. This is an example of American culture. Like in California, there's sometimes I'll see a reel that'll talk about the States Project and how everybody had to do like a national park or one of the towns, or I did Jamestown, as something that you had to study. And yeah, that's just a part of living in California. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say that that is also culture. And that doesn't make it any less of a culture as it does as a tied to a country or ethnicity or a town. But for some reason, people are so much, it's easier to normalize that as a culture and as something which many people can participate in, right? Because you just have to be in California, then something like a tied to a country or an ethnicity in which you not only had to just be there, but you also have to have the ethnicity to back it up, or you're a stranger, you're a foreigner, you should be outside of this particular area. And that is an unfair statement to make. you know there's something special about friend groups, about particular groups of people, like minorities, for example, where they are together, like the struggles of their lives and also the unique context that they live under bring people together, right? Like your graduating class in college or high school, and all these people just come together because you feel like you're never going to see them again, and you have that special bonding between you all as a collective. And it's very weird that you experience that phenomena of a bunch of people that you never really talk to kind of just come together, and you're like, wow, I don't know you at all, but since I feel like I'm never going to see you, you are suddenly more valuable, and I don't care about whatever happened in the past or people's judgment of you. I just want to talk to you before you quote unquote disappear from our lives, right? Everything feels so circumstantial then. You appreciate things that you didn't grow to appreciate before, and that's a unique culture, especially in America. And I don't feel like people put enough emphasis on that. Culture can be built. It doesn't have to be historically tied. Somebody else doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to be so detached from something that you have no idea why that thing exists. Like I ran a chem club at my school, and someone just started a ramen party as an end of year celebration, and instead of like a traditional like cake party or whatever, or just a awards ceremony or a banquet. Like we just ate food and we cooked food. And maybe that was because it was a predominantly Asian club, but yeah, and then that just became a tradition. And then people kept doing that. And that's just an example of how you can build culture, right? It doesn't have to be so complicated as people's ethnicities or the history or the times that build you guys together. Like, you can just do things and you can keep those things going. There was a speech from the football team about having large genitalia. And that was a motivator that a football captain, who also happened to be our soccer captain, brought to our team. And that became a legacy. For my father, that that meant that taking a group poop before you leave as a relay team. And for my team, that meant you pointed your genitalia a certain way in your very tight undergarments that you had to wear for track. And that was our team bonding. And so were our captain's awards that we passed down between the teams. It's just culture. So it is worrying. There is room for concern for terms like whitewashed, which demeans a culture for existing, a group of people and their immutable qualities, and that also puts down people for engaging in the culture or the environment that they grow up in. Again, something completely outside of their control. I don't particularly believe that it is honorable or it makes you more valuable as an individual to be attached to something that is completely outside of your control. Like, maybe your parents forced you to grow up into a certain culture and they forced their beliefs on you and their superstitions, and maybe they didn't. But because your parents decide to do something or don't decide to do something doesn't make you intrinsically more valuable as an individual. It might make you more interesting because you're, different than the things that you experience in, your day-to-day life in America. But it doesn't mean anything, if that makes sense. So, yeah. And the other half of that is actually judging people and getting it right and understanding people's culture without them having to tell you, right? Or like even getting a present for someone and they didn't have to tell you what to get them. It's nice. It helps people feel seen. It helps people feel appreciated. And I hope that people don't feel so bad about stereotypes and judgment and trying to find the answer out before you are told it. Like independent thinking and thinking for yourself and trying something new. Like these are inherently good things. And yes, sometimes they can be damaging, those stereotypes, right? Well, making somebody believe that they should be a certain thing that aren't necessarily. And yes, they are and damaging. But that's the risk reward. You run the risk of seeming racist or getting the judgment wrong and offending someone. But if you get it right, it's great. And you're well appreciated for it, right? Because people feel seen. So either be a really good racist, quote unquote, or become really good at stereotyping and judgment, or, don't. And just play it safe. And don't take those risks. And don't take those rewards. But when somebody tries to get it right, or they're just following, basic pattern recognition, I don't feel like that should be seen as such a terrible thing. Alright? Like, yes, we, quote unquote, should disparage discrimination, but also discrimination is to help people get along better. But if you're reaching a lot of hostility over trying to be a part of something, maybe that something is trying to preserve its workplace culture, and if you're not wanted there, why would you want to be there anyway? And it's different when the only way to move forward is through these organizations that are discriminating and they make a nepo baby or a goose egg, and that's really messed up. But that's also kind of just how it is. And America and businesses aren't obligated to give you an opportunity, but they should do what is most profitable for them. And if they want to take a loss and you might be a better candidate than somebody else, but they fit the workplace culture better or they have the network better, well, that's just capitalism. So, sorry, not sorry, but it's the way the world works. And if you're arguing that it shouldn't work that way, then sure. But until then, you're just working against life for what it is. And unless you can overhaul capitalism and obligate everybody to get opportunities, you gotta learn to play the game. And maybe it's time to embrace being Chinese and you go straight to TikTok. So that is another one of my not very well articulated opinions, but I would give some food for thought. Culture is everywhere. I don't think that it needs to be one particular like vein or branch of individual that defines a culture. You don't need to be a certain type of individual either in order to engage in a culture. I feel like it's a very rude and demeaning way of structuring someone's life and just the way that somebody lives or that a group of people have lived historically. And on top of that, it's okay to judge people. It's okay to quote unquote discriminate and to stereotype. It's natural. And people like to classify. And if a large group of people who engage in a culture engage with each other similarly, which there are so many studies on about how people of similar, lifestyles and also, I want to say facilities, I try not to make it sound too bad, interact in similar ways to one another. And that's fine. And it's okay to identify that pattern and try to respect it. Yeah, at least something that I found out in my relationships is that it's nice to know what somebody wants before they realize that they want it, which sounds, a little bit like harassment, which it low-key is. But if you get it right, it means a lot. And navigating that balance is the life journey. And it can mean a lot in business too. Okay, that's about it. I'm getting comfortable with not letting these games ride out and just elongating whatever I have to talk about for the remaining of the recording. I'll see you guys another time. Okay. Bye-bye.